9 News Plus weather, sponsored by Carrier Colorado. The future of home comfort is here.
Hey, happy Tuesday and happy start of November. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi. A bit of a November-like start to the week. I'll explain that here in just a second. Today doesn't feel like November, but the rest of the week, some pretty big temperature fluctuations as well as some decent chances for rain and snow. That will make it feel a bit more November-like. But today, far from as you take a look at Rocky Mountain National Park, where we're starting to see some of that snow that we picked up last week melt on off, but we're going to get a nice little refresher to some of that snowfall later on this week, even on up in Rocky Mountain National Park. Our next storm is going to favor southern Colorado a bit more, but looking more and more like we're going to see some pretty decent impacts into northern parts of the state, including the potential for our first measurable snowfall here in the Denver area. So here's what to kind of take away from the forecast. Warm day ahead today. Temperatures in the low 70s. Will probably hit 70 again tomorrow. Then clouds increase before rain and snow starts on up tomorrow in the mountains. And for the Denver area, our impacts probably more late Thursday and early into Friday. HD Doppler radar not picking up on much right now, but we are starting to see a few high clouds stream their way into eastern Utah. Those will push their way into western Colorado later on this morning and early this afternoon, and eventually making their way out onto the Front Range. So we will notice some of those increasing clouds come about 4, 5, maybe 6 o'clock. These are mid to high level clouds. You might remember back on late Saturday and early Sunday, we kind of had a fair bit of cloud cover. Same kind of mechanism, a weak system, moisture source system pushing its way on through. So what we'll end up with, a few high clouds. That is pretty much it. That's not an association with our next storm system, and that will start to impact us late tomorrow night into the mountains with some rain in the lower elevations and some snow on up into the San Juans as well as into the flat tops. Temperatures right now already up to 60 degrees for us here into Denver. We made it up to 69 in Denver yesterday. I think we're going to be pretty solidly into the 70-plus territory for this afternoon here in the Denver area. Mountains stuck in the 30s and 40s for the moment, but again, we're feeling the impacts of some downsloping winds here on the Front Range, and that's why those temperatures are already on up into the 60s in most cases. So today, temperatures rise on up into the low 70s. It is a very mild first day of November. We're normally in the upper 50s, about 58, 59 this time of year. So when we're talking about low 70s, that is a good 10 to 15 degrees above where we should be for the first day of the month of November. So not exactly feeling November like today, but later on this week, as I mentioned, we will certainly have a more late fall feel to that forecast. Highs today along the Front Range, most of us, again, low 70s. Wouldn't be surprised if one or two of us do end up in the mid 70s. Maybe it wouldn't be surprised we see a 75, 76 somewhere in the metro area later on this afternoon. But for most of us, again, low 70s, pleasant conditions for this afternoon. Tonight, temperatures drop back into the low 40s. We still have not dropped below 30 degrees yet so far this autumn here in the Denver area, or I should say at DIA as well as downtown. We have not dropped below 30 degrees. And that's kind of significant because normally we've already dropped down in the 20s by mid-October. We have not done so yet. It is our latest wait to drop down into the 20s since 1979. And that number is going to continue to increase as we head through the rest of the week. Tomorrow's temperatures on up into the low 70s for us. Light south winds, 5 to 15 miles an hour, maybe slightly more of a breeze tomorrow, especially as you get east of Denver. And that's where we'll notice those winds just a touch windier, breezier, I should say. It's not really all that windy, just again, a bit more of a breeze. And a few spots tomorrow fueled by that breeze, getting on up maybe even into the low 80s. Look at Lamar, 80 degrees for tomorrow afternoon. Mountains 40s, 50s. That's because of some of the cloud cover from that next system. But again, Eastern Plains, a few of us will touch 80 degrees for our day tomorrow. Not bad for the second day of the month of November. So our next storm, I mentioned this, it's going to track a little further south, but we've been kind of talking about this the last few days. There has been a bit of a change in the forecast. This storm looked like it was going to be too far south to give us pretty big impacts from I-70 on north. Looked like we'd see a little snow, I-70 on north in the mountains, and Denver area, maybe a little bit of slush at the most. But it looks like now the system is going to be a bit further north, and that means we'll probably end up with at least some fairly decent rain and snow Thursday night, Friday morning, the Denver area and the mountains. I think those impacts will extend a bit further north. So overall, I'd say this is pretty good news. Means we're going to get more moisture here into our state for Thursday night and Friday morning. So start things off, though, by taking a look at late tomorrow night. This is around midnight Thursday morning. You can see some of that rain and some of that snow moving its way into western Colorado. That's where you'll see it first. And notice some of those dark blues and some of those yellows. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a rumble of thunder or two as the system moves its way on in. Reason being is that there's going to be a sharp front that accompanies the system, and that'll give us enough lift to perhaps generate a rumble of thunder or two, maybe a lightning strike or two on up into the mountains. So we'll certainly see some of that as we head through late tomorrow night and Thursday morning. Then as this system continues to track its way off to the east, we'll see some bursts of heavier snow into the mountains. But I think for the mountains, the main time for that heavy snow will be tomorrow, or I should say tomorrow, Thursday afternoon is when it looks like we'll see that heaviest snow for the most part into the mountains. By Friday morning, we've got a secondary area of low pressure that develops what looks to be in southeast Colorado or northeast New Mexico, which is normally a prime area for our areas of low pressure develop. That's a different story, but we will see an area of low pressure develop, and that will give us in the Denver area and for the Front Range our best chance at seeing rain and snow. It looks like we'll start off as some rain showers and then flip over to snow. And when exactly that snow takes place, notice here, this is Friday at 7 a.m. This is likely just after sunrise. And that's significant because if we got this snow taking place after sunrise, then that accumulation chance probably goes down. If it takes place during the overnight hours, when we've got obviously no sunlight and we've got a colder surface, we've got a better chance of seeing accumulation then. So here's how it probably shakes out. This is the European model. And notice it's still kind of favoring southern Colorado a bit more. I kind of like the mountain accumulations here into the European model solution here with a fairly widespread 6-inch plus snowfall amount. But take a look here at the GFS. And the GFS model putting in some cases, pretty decent totals here, some double-digit totals on up into the mountains. That Winter Park number seems a little suspicious to me, even with higher impacts along and north of I-70 than what we were thinking yesterday. That still seems like a lot to me, a foot of snow up there, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody on the I-70 corridor, maybe a Loveland, a Vail, or a Beaver Creek, somebody checks in with 9-10 inches of snow from the storm system, maybe even a Steamboat Springs, but this is going to be a southwest flow. So this storm system, keep in mind, places like Crested Butte tend to do really well with the southwest flow. Purgatory, Telluride will do well from this. Wolf Creek will do well from this. This is not one that would, off the top of my head, favor the Winter Park area or Steamboat Springs. So this number seems a little high for those areas, but Steamboat can do okay in a southwest flow. But this would be more of a, again, Crested Butte, I think will do well. I think Telluride and Purgatory, some of the ski areas, they'll do especially well from this upcoming system. And that'll probably help some of those ski areas maybe open up with a bit more snow, maybe open a few more trails when they first open on up as we get into the next few weeks. All right, once we get past that, Friday morning, haven't mentioned this, I'll get into the Denver area impacts in just a second, but once we get past that, looks like the upcoming weekend will be pretty nice. Temperatures around seasonal levels, maybe a bit warmer than average, high around 60 both days this weekend. Overnight lows seasonably comfortable both nights. And then early next week, we do gradually drop back down into the mid to upper 50s. So far, or I should say so far, we finished the month of October with about half of the typical precipitation we normally get. We only picked up about 0.46 inches of rain and snow at Denver International Airport. We normally pick up about an inch, 0.99 inches of rain and snow over the full month of October. So unfortunately, that means we did kind of fall short a little bit in terms of where we would typically expect that rain and snow to be during the month of October. By the way, our fourth straight October with below average precipitation, and our fifth straight month overall here in Denver with below average precipitation at DIA. November weather. We normally average, by the way, November is on average our fourth snowiest month of the year. We average about 7/10 of an inch of rain and snow, and our average monthly temperature is 40 degrees. And yes, so November, of course, obviously gets a lot colder than October, and as the month wears on, those temperatures, well, we start getting down into the 30s. All right, back over to the snow chance on Thursday night, Friday morning for the Denver area. It does not look like a high impact event, but I would say that it looks at this point like a slightly higher chance that we get on the board compared to last week. Last week, you might remember Thursday morning, we woke up to some of those wet snowflakes. We did see in some parts of the metro area some measurable snowfall. We did not officially get there at DIA. Our average first measurable snow in Denver is on October the 18th. You might remember, of course, that last year we had to wait all the way till December the 10th, by far our latest wait on record, to get our first measurable snowfall. But we got a pretty decent chance of getting on the board this upcoming week. So I think we've got a pretty decent chance of getting some of that measurable snowfall here in Denver Thursday night, Friday morning, if it takes place overnight. If we get some of that snow between, 7 p.m. on Thursday night and 5 or 6 a.m. on Friday morning, that will give us a pretty good chance of getting there. But stay with us for the next day or so. But it does look a bit more promising compared to this time yesterday, that we could see some measurable snow here in Denver. If we do see anything, as I was just mentioning to you, it would be that Snapchat snow where you get a little slush in your car tops, on your grass. That is pretty much it. But it does look like A, we'll get there, and B, it also looks like we'll finally drop down into the 20s for the first time this fall season, which is way later than usual, but looks like we'll actually get there coming up later this week. Meteorologist Greg Perez will have an update for you coming up at 9 News at noon. Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin's in at 4 and 5, and then meteorologist Danielle Grant's in at 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News Family Networks. Once again, I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Happy November, and thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus.